Like many of you reading this article, I had mixed emotions during the Ottawa Senators' thrilling 5-3 victory over the New York Rangers on Thursday night. If you had a record of me watching the game, it would probably have sounded like a jumbled noise of cheery cries, mournful cries, and the occasional beating. In short, I felt like I was watching a playoff game for the first time since 2017. Jakub Chychrun makes his Sens debut. Derek Brassard plays in his 1000th game. Highs from back-to-back rumble of the Detroit Red Wings. There were plenty of reasons why emotions were already running high before puck fell. As with both games against the Wings earlier this week, Sens fell early when Chris Kreider scored in a short break in just 6:31 of the game. After all that exaggeration, he reminded me that yes, the Rangers are still a good team. And yes, the Sens needed to play a strong game to get one of them at Madison Square Garden. Things took a turn for the worse before they got better when Austin Watson was sentenced to an impromptu charge against former Senator Tyler Mott. Austin Watson received a 5-minute major for blaming Tyler Mott and for a game misconduct. pic.twitter.com/hkqghv623. BR Open Ice March 3, 2023. Watson's brand of hockey is such that always tries to hit it big. But this is textbook fare if I've seen before. It was particularly unfortunate to see Mott, who was battling a concussion, clearly injured in the game. He did not return to the game. In retrospect, everything may seem predetermined, but given how rest of the game played, none of this would have been possible if Sens hadn't been able to kill main game. Their success in doing so, and then killing a minor player on bench before end first period, was a combination of some star work from PK units and some uncharacteristic carelessness. Rangers, with man advantage, perhaps most encouraging development of the night. They looked great when Sens managed to keep game at 5v5. As the second period began, Sens unfortunately put themselves in a bad position with a little more undisciplined play than Chychrun, who was sent into the box this time. After some more skillful work on the PK, Sens were finally able to establish themselves in a tough but erratic game. 2 goals in a row, including one on Brassard's special night, really pumped blood. Pinto hit this behind the net. #GoSens. Go pic.twitter.com/BNFT3G8RGT. Ottawa Senators March 3, 2023. Rice. Game No. 1000. #GoSens. Go pic.twitter.com/5N8Seb8Oc4. Ottawa Senators March 3, 2023. Unfortunately, Sens would experience a few unfortunate breakdowns there shortly after, first allowing Jacob Trouba and then Vladimir Tarasenko to reclaim the Rangers' advantage with a nice breakout move. With 3-2 scoreline after the 2, this game was more than just living exaggeration. It is often said that to be the best one must beat the best. I'm not sure the Sens are fully prepared to be the best. But if they're trying to be a playoff team, they'll just need show they can beat teams of playoff caliber. Their performance in the third period of tonight's match was a big step towards proving that this is possible. Ottawa scored 3 goals before the 5-minute period was up. First Brassard with his second game, then Claude Giroux, then Brady Tkachuk. 1000 gaming experiences hit that goal. That's undeniable. #GoSens. Go pic.twitter.com/favkemjum. Ottawa Senators March 3, 2023. Giroux is moving to take the lead. #GoSens. Go pic.twitter.com/da9l14ztaz. Ottawa Senators March 3, 2023. If you're wondering why I added 2 highlights when I mentioned 3 goals, it's because the Tkachuk goal was eventually recalled for offside. It was very close, but the Rangers were ultimately right in challenging the captain not to keep his trailing leg fully offside. But before Sens could close the win, There was a brief injury scare for newly acquired Chychrun. The great defender collided with Philip Chitil in the disc race and awkwardly sprained his right leg. He was on ice for a while, but eventually came under his own power to the bench and remained in game. I hope the crisis is averted. In end, Rangers couldn't gather necessary pressure to find tied goal, perhaps suffering a bit in second game in a row, and Tim Stützle buried an empty net for 5-3 final. Game notes. The intensity of game and the atmosphere of arena were definitely exciting on Thursday night. I wrote in the introduction that it felt like a playoff game. While this was perhaps a bit of a stretch, it wasn't far from the truth. It was incredible to see Sens stand up to this kind of team in this kind of environment. And it's not something we've seen in these regions for almost 6 years. My first impressions of Chychrun were generally positive. He glided well, made a few solid defensive plays and showed provocative offensive instincts. His pairing with Holden got a little tough, which I'll comment on in more detail below, but individually he saw me in the role. Now we have to hope that he is still 100% healthy after falling on the boards. Speaking of Chychrun, gave an interview with TSN during second hiatus, which really pulled her old heartstrings. Where mentioned got a little emotional when told family was coming home to Ottawa. After Watson's penalty, Sens was dropped to 11, but they only used 9 functionally in the third period. Julien Gauthier and Marc Kastelic played one shift in frame, and neither saw the ice for last 15 minutes. Smith hadn't really had to coach meaningful games before during his tenure at Ottawa. So I'm very interested in seeing what kind of distribution choices he makes, especially high-leverage situations. In news that's undoubtedly unsurprising to regular readers, I wasn't a fan of Smith's choice to scribble Erik Brannstrom. Brannstrom is clearly a better player than Nick Holden at this point in their respective careers, and the latter seemed overwhelmed several times. His matchup with Chychrun was crushed in 5v5. His chances and shots bled. It was just a game. There could be various reasons Smith thinks alignment is best for this particular game, but going forward with particular alignment would be a serious mistake. We're here to hope things get messy on Saturday night. Game flow heat map.